If you've ever asked yourself, is it the most uncomfortable thing in the world to wear rollers at night? I'm just here to tell you, yes. Yes, it is. Hello there guys, it's Becca and welcome back to my channel. I had so much fun last time doing my Wizard of Oz kind of review that I decided I wanted to do this more. So I thought it would be a good idea if I took a look back at films in history that maybe we knew as kids or maybe today's generation doesn't know as well. Things like, you know, Mary Poppins, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, even The Princess Bride, which is going to be this week's movie. So I'm gonna sit down and watch Princess Bride this morning, and when I get back I'll be all dressed up and ready to tell you all my thoughts. Well, boy do I have thoughts.
Let me explain. No, there is too much. Let me sum up.
So first off, I'll start with the character and the plot. Oh my goodness, I entirely forgot how much Buttercup is kind of a little bit of a spoiled brat. Like, she's supposed to be the heroine, we're supposed to be rooting for her, and yet she's spending this entire beginning sequence being the bossiest person in the world over unnecessary things, when it's like, you're obviously a peasant yourself, hun. You don't need to be ordering around this poor farmhand guy who's probably your equal.
Polish my horse's saddle. I want to see my face shining in it by morning.
Speaking of farmhands, Wesley in that opening sequence is so entirely wooden. It's hilarious. Like, I know he's not supposed to be showing how he feels and the whole, you know, as you wish means I love you, etc. But he's so wooden.
Fill these with water. Please.
I forgot how much I loved Inigo and Fezzik's relationship.
Yes, some of the time.
Their one-liners and quips and rhymes with each other are so sweet, and Fezzik just shows up and takes care of him, and Inigo stands up for Fezzik, and they are literally friendship goals. My other favorite thing to do with Inigo is he's so extra. The entire movie, it's hilarious. Like, not only does he have that brilliant, awesome sword fight with Wesley, but then every single time you'll be watching whatever's happening in the rest of the scene, and if you just kind of look around and notice, you'll see Inigo in the back of the scene just standing there doing something completely extra. Like, there's this one scene I think where Vicini's looking up, oh, it's the Cliffs of Insanity, and if you look in the background, Inigo is back there holding the rope, just like, oh yeah, look at me in my brilliant pose.
See?
Speaking of people with pretty faces, everyone in this film, like, I forgot how many attractive gentlemen are in this movie.
Kevin Macleod.
Such a pleasure to watch. And then the other thing about characters and the plot is, like, everyone in this film seems to kind of show up out of nowhere. Buttercup goes from being entirely sad that Wesley is gone to suddenly she's just a princess. Like, there's nothing, she's just a princess. She's walking through, she's got a crown on, and there's Humperdinck. You don't know anything about him except, oh, he's a prince. And that's it. Nothing of how they met. You didn't even know this was a kingdom that had a prince even. I don't know. And then Fezzik and Vicini and Inigo just show up in the forest just out of nowhere. It's just Buttercup's just riding along and suddenly there they are, right there. So next, I'll talk about the set, props, and aesthetics of the film. So first off, the detail of the set was amazing. I started to really kind of notice it around the fire swamp. When you get to the fire swamp though is where you really see the people who had to create these entire sets, and it reminded me a lot of what I liked about Wizard of Oz actually, is, you know, this was before CGI. Everything is being done with, you know, real details and real fake trees and things like that, and it's amazing. I mean, he's cutting through this swamp and you see that this is a humongous set, and they created it entirely for this, and they created it real. You know, none of it is computer drawn, which is incredible. I mean, I think at one point there's cocoon husks, like, just in the details of the back of the swamp. You know, not only is this somewhere where there's giant rats and creepy fire volcanoes, but now suddenly there's these giant cocoon husks in the background.
Roberts and I eventually became friends.
And speaking of not being CGI, the puppetry in this, like what we forget when everything is CGI, we're used to how kind of safe that is as a viewer. I mean, you can do anything, but you can also know that everything you're seeing isn't real. But when you're seeing puppetry and animatronics, it makes this stuff go from just, oh, that's just on the screen, to, oh my gosh, the actor was actually touching that, or oh my gosh, that actually just swam past her or is about to eat her face off. And they are terrifying. We've got these giant rats. We've got these creepy, slimy eels with freaky faces that we never even really see. And I mean, like, these eels, they're terrifying. I am that kid.
She doesn't get eaten by the eels at this time. I'm explaining to you because you look nervous.
The other thing I noticed about this entire film as I was going through is I was like, this whole thing honestly feels like one gigantic RPG game. I was getting major like RuneScape and World of Warcraft vibes this entire film. Not only in the way everything's presented with this fantasy storyline, but you've got these crazy names like the Fire Swamp and the Pit of Despair.
A few more steps and we'll be safe in the fire swamp.
And how everything is kind of named after what it has to do with very simply. And add to that, you've got the music style of the film, which is weirdly like the soundtrack to RuneScape or something, with this kind of bit music. And then the giant rats. So, you know. RuneScape the movie. The other thing I loved about the visuals, if you look at Inigo's hair the entire time, he's rocking this like 1940s curls up here and like basset hound floof down at the bottom. He's rocking the vintage look, for sure. And then my kind of final takeaway section is things you realize as an adult watching this that maybe you didn't as a kid. First off, what was Vizzini's plan with the wine? Like, Wesley just shows up, and he's already bested the other two guys, and Vizzini's just sitting there with his knife to the princess's throat, and a little table of wine and cheese and crackers and such all just set out for him. And if you watch the film, you notice that it's actually Wesley who suggests, hey, how about we do a battle of wits? Vizzini doesn't suggest anything except, hey, stop moving forward or I'll kill the princess. So my only question is, what was his plan? Was he just like, oh, hey, you know, you bested my giant, you bested my Spaniard, well, you've yet to meet me. Were you gonna seduce him to death? I've been really trying. Give the man a nice dinner and he'll just die. Second adult realization, Vizzini, with his whole monologue of these two poisons in front of him, is me. Me BSing a paper for my professor.
As you are not trusted by me, so I can clearly not choose the wine in front of you.
Truly, you have a dizzying intellect.
Wait till I get going!
Third realization, Humperdinck is the same actor who plays Jack Skellington in The Nightmare Before Christmas. Can't unsee or hear that now. Speaking of Humperdinck, the best realization that I had as an adult watching this film is how much the Count and Humperdinck have this like Mean Girls in high school relationship. Like they have these wonderful little asides with just each other where they're like, oh, you know, oh, Humperdinck, you know, you're just so this and that. It's fantastic and I'm here for it, and it makes the entire film that much more enjoyable because as a kid you're just watching this thinking, oh, this is a scene with the bad guys and I don't like the bad guys. But then you're watching it as an adult and you're like, these two are hilarious. This is Christopher Guest as the Count. Christopher Guest, and then the guy who plays Humperdinck, and I will never be able to remember his name. But it's those two actors, and they're actually seriously funny actors in real life, and they bring that humor to these roles too, and I love it. Mean Girls Fantasy Edition. And then the last thing is that Inigo defeating the Count is just that much more satisfying to watch as an adult. Just his energy and how he's not willing to give up, and how it's just so satisfying, and then that last moment where he just sticks the final sword in him, and it's no longer about the line anymore, it's just, I want my father back, you can't give him to me, so goodbye.
Anything you want.
I want my father back, you son of a bitch.
So that is it. It was so much fun to watch this as an adult. I haven't seen it since I was really a kid, and it was kind of really satisfying to watch all these moments that I remembered and see them in a different light and have a lot of fun with it, and then to kind of think about how it affected me or how different it was. And then to think about just seeing it as an adult and how much fun that is on its own. So I had a great time with it. I hope to see you guys again next week, where I will have more fantastic content for you. And in the meantime, I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. Is it the most uncomfortable thing? I have decided. I just said the word decided a lot. Okay. No. No. No, no, no. Loud car. It just got super bright outside. All I could see the entire time was Wesley's little tiny ponytail. Star of the show. So bright! So bright! Calm down, son. Mean Girls Fantasy RPG Edition. No, no. Hello, my name is Inigo Montoyas. You killed my father. Prepare to die. How much fun that is. It's